So this is to show what you know, right? Your digital notebooking or your non-digital notebooking as it may be right now. I want you just to take a moment to read the paragraph about what you're expected to do. Then ask me some questions, and then we're going to build a rubric together so that we can talk about what are the primary components. What do you think I'm looking for this assignment? So go ahead and read the paragraph and we'll talk here. Okay, so here's my thinking on this. I think I told you that in the days gone by, I gave tests, 4 of them, and then a final exam. And the tests were okay, you know, they're typical tests. They had some multiple choice items on there, a few short answers. But what I felt like is that it was just skimming the surface of what we're really doing in here. And that's typically what multiple choice short answer tests do. And I'm not saying that other professors shouldn't use them. I just thought, is there another way to show what you know? To show the content that you're developing or reaffirming while you're in this class. And you know I'm a techie and we have this room, so I wanted to see if there was another way that we could do this through digital note-taking, interactive note-taking. Interactive meaning that it's not just paper, pencil, you writing down everything that I say, but that you're adding some of your own edits to it, so your own interpretation, your reflection of the learning that's taking place. So what am I looking for? Within your small groups, talk about what those criteria should be. Take out a whiteboard and list anywhere from 3 to 5 criteria that you think are important for your notebooks. Okay? Go ahead and go.
You just do it, you get 100%.
There you go, you can try that. What's the criteria though? So what is the, just doing it would be the example that you offered. That might be a little iffy, right? It's certainly easy to grade. Yeah, you know.
Hey, he's got 1 point on it. That's it.
My mom, when she used to see me years ago, grade so much, right? I was a public school teacher too, and when she'd see me grade, she'd say, "You work so hard on this grading. Why don't you just like give somebody an A, B, C, D?" And if they complain about it, say, "Oh, well, we rotate her up for an A next time." I think that would be an easier way for sure.
So we're describing, or like we're writing down one.
Okay, so Michael, I'm going to ask you to be the master scribe over on a whiteboard that's hanging up so that we can all see it. Okay. So I want each group to present one idea that you think needs to go into the rubric, and we'll see if we can make a collective list doing so. So the person that I want to present today is the person that's sitting in the spot that where David is. So David's going to be a presenter. Aaron's going to be a presenter. Kelsey's going to be a presenter. Nick's going to be a presenter. Zach's going to be a presenter. And Nicole's to you, Tanya. Okay? All right. Can you write while it's still up there so people can see? That'd be awesome. All right, here we go. David, what do you have for us?
Just say one of them?
Just one.
Yes, organization.
Okay. Anybody else have organization? We can do staffs. Anybody illegally one fan? All right, yeah. All right, organization.
Good content.
Thank you, Aaron. Content, which means knowledge, that you have accurate content depicted. All right. How many people have that? Any other groups? All right. Going over to Kelsey.
Detailed.
Details. All right, tell me about details.
Just that. You're actually explaining everything.
Okay, so it's not the superficial, that you are showing some evidence that you know what you're talking about. Now, again, I don't want pages and pages and pages, but a little bit of detail goes a long way. All right, details. Keep that there. All right, Nick.
Making connections.
All right, tell me about that.
Just trying to find, like, based on what we read and all the activities we do, trying to find a connection to that in real life. Kind of like how in Unit 2 we started talking about the West Virginia with the water and that, connecting it back to our iPads model.
All right, that's so beautiful. It almost brings me to tears. Connections. Why are those more important than maybe at least just as important? Why is that bringing me to tears? What is it about connections? Yeah, it shows a deeper level of understanding. When you can make connections between concepts, it shows a deeper level of understanding. Okay, I have one to add, and the thing that I like to add is communication. Clearly communicated. That when I read it, I know what's going on. I will turn this into a rubric on my own. I won't take our time here. Is there anybody that wants to make any other contributions to this rubric? Take something away, or at least make an argument that something doesn't belong or something else needs to be there? All right, next time we come to class, you'll see this appear in our rubric, and we can look at it one more time to make sure we're good to go, but now you should know how to go about that digital notebooking. So you can come and grab your iPad.
Did you happen to put number 8 before you did I? I did. Right?
Okay, so for world population, we're going to watch this short video, and it kind of gives you a feel of what's happening with population. I think it's a really good way to show world population and what happens over time. Okay, so this is a projection to year 2030, right?
Our population will double in about 50 years, yet the Earth's size remains the same. Slowing human population growth and lowering our consumption of natural resources is key to reducing the impact we have on our planet. Through our personal decisions about our numbers and our lifestyles, each of us can help to preserve the health and beauty of our home.
What's the summary statement for the video? What do you think? Anybody want to take a stab at it? What would you say? What's the point?
Population will keep growing.
Okay, so population is continuing to grow. Julia?
And then if population keeps growing, we're not going to be able to sustain it.
Okay, so it's unsustainable growth. Sustainable means that we can keep everything going indefinitely. Why can't we keep everything going indefinitely? Yeah,
Because
Julia?
We don't have the natural resources to
Okay,
support such
we have a finite amount of natural resources. I'm going to give you Africa, world regions, Asia, Latin America, North America, Europe. You get to pick whoever you want, okay? I did that with you last time. And what I want you to do is I'm going to go to this visualizing the data, and this is real-time data right now. And I want you to think about the region you're representing. Maybe you guys want to do Oceania for this one, because there is a little bit of information on Oceania. Okay, so if you kind of keep your eye on the screen for Oceania and see what happens. And just get a feel for how this table works. Down across the bottom, they're going to highlight your region when things are happening within your region, okay? Red basically means deaths. Green means births. Off to the sides, we see different countries popping up. So think about countries within your region. And then at the top, we actually have the total birth and death. The births and the deaths, that you can see that there's 3,126 births, and that's climbing since we ran this, and 1,300 deaths. So we have many more births than deaths. That shows population growth, not population decline. And it shows you that we have about 4.3 births per second. Right? How many births would that be per minute?
Wow.
240, right? 60 seconds in a minute, about 240. So let's see if I can show you what that looks like, or again give you a feel for this. Go ahead, Nick, and put it down 240 beats per minute, somewhere close to that. At 208, it's going to be about as fast as we can go. That's what it feels like as far as births per minute. A lot of population pressure on the earth. Go to 42, Nick. Or 40 the slowest. We haven't seen that kind of growth rate since well before the 1930s. Okay, so since the Industrial Revolution, we really are feeling back to that 208, that 240 beats per minute. Okay, so go to 240 again, Nick, or 208. Okay, so think about this, ready? Music people, clap with me. Everybody clap with me. That's right now. When you look at some of the other data, it's doubled as fast. We've been here before, so ready? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Stop. That's where we were. That's where we were. We have data that suggests that we've been much worse than where we are today. So population has slowed down a little bit, quite a bit, but we still have a situation that's unsustainable. So here's some data for you. In 1492, we had about 2 beats per minute. I'd be clapping 2 times every minute. 30 seconds from now, I'd clap again. In the 1950s was that 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. The Industrial Revolution, right? 2013, 2014 today, we're at about 258, thereabouts, 240 if you looked at the data from today, beats per minute. So we have slowed things down, and there's some strategies that we're going to look at during this unit of how to slow down birth rate. They've been successful, but now we have to look at them geographically. They've been successful in some regions, but not in all regions. So how can we slow down birth rate so that we can sustain our Earth and the resources that we have? That's going to be one of the questions that we have as we move forward, so I want you to think about that as we go along. The next thing I want us to do is I want us to look at this chart, and I want you to try to find out, let's try to find, a couple countries, 3 to 5, from your world region, and this time you guys are going to use any region you want, Oceania won't count, and try to come up with an average birth rate. Okay? We're going to use something called crude birth rate, which is how many births per 1,000 people in the population. So it's the number of births per 1,000. So come up with an average for your region and be ready to report out. 2736 births per 1,000 people in the population. Crude birth rate.
We said between 18 to 20.
Okay, so 18 to 27 lower, and you are Asia. Okay. Latin America?
Like 18.
Okay. 18-ish?
Yeah.
That's a good average. So lower yet, right? Here?
North America was like 13 to 18.
Lower yet, 13 to 18. So you see that the point being is that when we talk population, we really have to talk about regions. We have to talk about regions around the world. So we're going to do an activity called Food for Thought, and I need 5 volunteers. 6 volunteers, actually. I need somebody from the UN. So I need 5 people to stand up. 1, 2, 3. Nick, 4. 1 more. Somebody from this, represent somebody. Okay, thank you, Drag. 5. Oh, and I need someone from the UN. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need the 6th person.
We got 6 out.
We do? Austin doesn't count. 1, 2. Oh, I'm sorry, Julie, I didn't see you. Okay. Your shirt is the same color as the wall. See what happened? Let it right in. Okay, so I need an ambassador from Africa. And so I'm going to give you this whole bag, and what I want you to do is just take out the pink card and leave everything else in the bag. So there you go. You're going to represent Africa. And then I'm going to have a representative from Asia. There you go. Oh, you guys can switch if you want. I need Europe. Who wants Europe? All right. Latin America. Latin America. All right. And I need North America. I'll Greg do North America. And I'm going to have Nick be the UN ambassador. Nick, you're going to work with Austin. We need 1 other person. So there's a tag there. When I have you read, you can read the top half, but not the bottom half. But you're going to be observers, and you're going to have to come up with some policies that you think would be fair for the world, okay? When we look at resources and population. Okay, so here we go. Everybody take out their pink cards. Now we need to recruit people for the regions. So Africa, you are going to recruit 2 other people. Anybody you want? Europe, where are you at? Europe?
I'm over here.
Europe, okay. You're going to grab 2 other people.
Wants to come to Europe with me.
Big.
Okay. Dr. Haney, all off? All
Pardon?
out? All the strings?
All that string, that's your region. That's how much, that's the percentage of the world's landmass you own. Now, theoretically, this is all supposed to be stretched out. so we can have a feel for population density. But can't you feel it already? Look at North America. Got a lot of room to move around, all right?
Look at me.
We have
I'm in the water.
Latin America over here, not real crowded. Got some space. Here's Europe, feel pretty good there. Not too bad. We have Africa over here, not feeling a whole lot of constraint. And we have Asia. Okay, for Asia. All right.
And we have.
So we're going to do an activity called Food for Thought. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at land area, percent urban rural populations, GNI, how many calories we consume each day, how much energy we use in forms of oil, how much percentage of safe water, how much pollution we produce in terms of carbon dioxide emissions. We're going to look at infant mortality rates and population projection for the year 2025.
I am the ambassador for Asia, except for the population of giant China, which has its own representative. Asia is, by far, the most populous region, with over 1/3 of the world's people. Our diverse region includes one of the world's poorest countries, Yemen, and one of the richest, Japan.
Let's go. Let's fly over to Latin America.
I am the Latin American ambassador, representing the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. 9% of the world's population resides in our area. Our region has 2 of the 5 largest cities in the world, Sao Paulo and Mexico City. Our GNI per capita is 7,950.
Let's hear from Greg in North America.
I am the North American ambassador representing Canada and the United States, which contains 5% of the world's population and consumes approximately 24% of the world's energy, according to the World Resources Institute. Our population growth rate is the highest among the industrialized regions. At $40,980, our GNI per capita is the highest of any region in the world.
Okay. Thank you very much, Greg. I'm Jody Haney. I teach, I have a joint appointment, so I teach both in the College of Education and the College of Arts and Sciences. I've been teaching science education for 20 years and environmental science, environmental studies, environmental education for about 10 years.
Awesome. When you think about your teaching, what are some important areas of focus for you? What's important as far as just being a teacher?
Yeah. I think the most important thing to me is that students want to learn more when you're done. So I really feel like if you can get them to have this appreciation and maybe even a love for the topic or the subject area, then they're going to want to learn more. And my job there is done. So it's really about getting them to want to be lifelong learners and to want to learn more when the class is finished.
Very cool. How would you describe your teaching strategies or your teaching style?
Yeah. I've been an inquiry-based teacher, I think, as long as I can remember. But I think more recently, I think beyond inquiry, it's really about student engagement and connecting them to the real world around them and connecting them to each other and helping them learn in a manner that clicks for them. And that's what I've learned is very different from student to student to student. So that's both an opportunity and a challenge.
Very good. At BGSU right now, we are very interested in active learning environments and even have spent some money and resources and time developing what we call the active learning classrooms.
Yeah.
I know you've been fortunate enough to be in one of those, at least this semester. So can you just start out talking a little bit about active learning, maybe about the classrooms that you're in, and then maybe some of your examples that you've been, what you've been doing in those classes?
Okay, sure. So active learning, in my mind anyway, is that, we make sure that students experience the content and skills that we're trying to teach, and that they experience it really before they make meaning of it, because the experience leads to meaning. So instead of me defining a term or teaching about something that is in an abstract form, I try to give them an experience for them to say, have like a hook of experience, and for them to then later to be able to tie concepts onto that hook. And so it's really about opening up the world and then making meaning of the world after they're done with the experience. And then hopefully getting them to want to learn more about that. So students use the MUC application to find the modified UNESCO code or land cover code and number for each land cover type visited. Go ahead and start.
So we have to decide whether or not we are in a natural or developed area, and the MUC guide will tell you will give you some extra help to decide whether or not it is natural or developed. We're in a cemetery, so this would be developed.
So I kind of use a learning cycle approach where they experience something, they make meaning, and then that's where I can come in and help them define and clarify and fill the gaps, and then we learn how to apply it somewhere else. And that cycle is sort of how I set all of my courses. Every lesson follows this learning cycle approach with active learning up front, then meaning making, and then application. The active learning classrooms have really been a wonderful challenge for me and an opportunity because I really had to rethink how we go about doing things because we have more tools to do those things with. So, you know, what I used to do with paper and pencils and crayons and GPS units and yardsticks and all sorts of other science devices, I'm really rethinking how we can maybe do that in a better way and a different way using technology. And I do that because my students have shown me that they're very capable of using technology. They're very interested in it. They feel very comfortable in it, and they can teach me when they're using the technology. So a great example of that is I used to pull out GPS units and I'd say, okay, well, I only have 8 GPS units and we have 24 people, so kind of get in groups of 3 and everybody take turns using the GPS unit. And then finally someone stopped me and said, well, can't we just use our phones? And I realized all of a sudden I had 24 GPS units, you know, maybe the 8 that I had and then the others that other people had, and so we could utilize the technology that way. And when I left the classroom, they still had a GPS unit with them so that they could apply the concepts in the, you know, as they go through the real world. So, and my students brought that to my attention. It wasn't something that was natural for me, but it was very natural for them. So it really is continually making me rethink how I used active learning in the past and how I use active learning today, because of the tools that have changed. So cameras just by themselves, just having a camera on your phone has been wonderful, because what I'm finding is that students, even when I don't tell them to take pictures, we're doing an activity outside and they want to capture the moment, so they take a picture of it. And then it got me to think, well, let's use the camera as a teaching tool and a learning tool. So now if we're measuring the height of a tree, we use the camera to take a picture of that tree, and then we use an app, a clinometer app, to figure out the angle from the eye to the top of the tree, and then we use simple mathematics to be able to then figure out the distance from the distance of the height of the tree based on the distance from our position to the tree. So in other words, the angle, we need the angle, and we need to know the distance to the tree, which we can pace off, and then we know the height of the tree. So they're finding a 45-degree angle with the clinometer app. And when they find the 45-degree angle, they know they have a side equals side triangle. So theoretically, the distance to the tree in meters should equal the height of the tree. However, they will also have to add in the height from the ground to their eye. So, you know, cool. Yeah, using a clinometer. And it used to be that we used to make clinometers out of washers and papers and pencils, and then again, students would leave without a clinometer, but now they can download a free clinometer app and always have the clinometer. So if they wanted to measure the height of a building or figure out how far they are away to a golf hole, you know, looking at the height of the flag, they'd be able to do that. So knowing that those tools are on them 24/7 has really helped me, rethink and recraft what I do so that I can make sure that they can pull that out and do it again later.
Very fun.
Yeah.
And then I know you're in the active learning classroom. Can you just describe a little bit more about, maybe in detail, what's available in that area? And
yeah, sure. So we have tables that are in groups of 6, and so I call it their pods. So I have 6 pods of 6 people, and so a 36-student classroom. And each pod has its own monitor screen. And they also have whiteboards and flexible seating. So if we don't want to stay within a pod, we can recraft how we sit and how we work. So we've been utilizing the classroom. First of all, having multiple screens in itself is, I think, very interesting, because, you know, if you were showing a video before, students might be watching, might not be watching, and what I've noticed is that students are always watching their own screens. And so I just have done kind of a check on what are they looking at during this video. And in 6s, they're looking at their screen rather than half of them looking at the screen and half of them looking down at who knows what they're doing. So I think it's been helping them have focus, having a screen close to them and being able to see and access. I just did a midterm evaluation and asked them to respond, and that was one of the common themes, is that they really liked having the screen close to them so that they could really see what was going on, and then have short, small group conversations about what's going on. So we can then break that down after I show something or we do something, and they can talk about that something within their small group. We're using the whiteboards quite a bit, and we have individual whiteboards, and then we have a kind of a whole front wall of whiteboard. And so individually, I again can ask them a question and ask them to each do something on the whiteboard, and they can hold that up for a presentation. And then sometimes I have each group do a piece of a longer whiteboard exercise, so they might have to jigsaw something, and group 1 is going to tell us about this topic, and group 2 is going to tell us about this topic, and we put them on the front board, we have the whole story. So that's been really nice, having all these writable surfaces. What I found teaching in a 50-minute time period is that's difficult for active learning. So you need to capture the moment. So then we go back to our cameras and take pictures of anything we didn't get through in the presentations, and that way we can wipe the boards down, knowing that when we come back we can just use the digital version to show and present where we left off.
What has been the student response to some of these strategies and methods thus far?
Yeah, I just got their feedback. They like it. I didn't read all of them yet. They're coming in as we speak, but right now they're saying that they like the seating. They like sitting in small groups. They like having the monitor with them. They like the whiteboards, which I was surprised to see that they actually mentioned the whiteboards as just having a whiteboarding exercise. And I think they like it. When I get into it more, I can figure out why, but I think they like it because they're building knowledge together. So they feel like they have this support group around them, and they're making some decisions and having to come up with some responses. They have a support network around them. And they like presenting. College students, these are first semester freshmen, they like presenting. They like being able to be in charge of their own learning and sometimes being the experts. So they say they like it when we do group reports, when they get to hear from their peers.
Very good.
Yeah.
And to go beyond that, and maybe you don't know quite yet because it's still mid-semester, but how do you feel like these methods and strategies and experiences are impacting ultimately student learning?
Yeah, I think it might be too early to know. Their scores have been good. I do some Canvas testing, Canvas quizzes and Canvas testing. They have been good. And their projects have been, right now we've been doing smaller projects, and they've been very good, but we're just about ready to get into this real project-based portion of the course where they will be using these boards and doing some video creation, video editing, and within their small groups. And so I think that will really tell me how this learning environment is for them. And I think I'm going to see some big gains because they can peer edit together in class rather than hoping that they did it on their own. But they have a video screen, and they can put their video in, they can all look at the video and then critique it right there on the spot. And we'll use class time to do that, where I would not have a way to do that in the past. So I'm hoping that we have a better ultimate product because of the time that they can work together in class with the technology and the monitors to really revise and edit.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And I remember earlier you were talking about having a movie in class and then an activity that you had them do along watching the video. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I told my students at the beginning of the semester that what we were doing is we were pilot testing a new learning environment, and part of the pilot test means that we're going to sometimes not know what we're doing, and we're going to be anxious about that, but it's also very exciting because we're pioneers. So for this exercise, I decided to just kind of try it. I had never tried it before. And so we were watching a video, and the video was really a film, a Sundance film on alternate fuel. And in the past, I had given them a question guide for them to fill out during the video, but this time we decided to do a collaborative mapping exercise. So students on their own devices, some on iPads, some on their cell phones, all sorts of phones, some of them on laptops, were creating a collaborative map together. And so the concept map started out with a few concepts that I put on there, and I said, okay, I'm not going to add any more. The rest of the map belongs to you, and I showed them how to do it. And so as we were watching the video, the film, they were mapping. They were creating a concept map, and they could click inside and add notes. And so you saw a map right before your eyes go from 3 or 4 concepts that I had started to, literally over 100 concepts by the end of 50 minutes. And that was pretty powerful to look at how we could collaboratively construct knowledge.